Well, let's just segue that right into how to navigate conflict with an individual and a team.
Yeah,
There,
exactly. So,
you can walk into a team that has high conflict. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been brought into a leadership team where there is high conflict. Tell us what you do. Yeah.
yeah, I love it. Have you ever been? It's more like, welcome to my world. You guys all want to jump in a suitcase and my briefcase and come into some of those experiences. Most of the time, unfortunately, organizations don't start proactively. They only call you. I'm sure you find this. They call you when there's a problem because that's what we do, right? That's part of the nature of the beast. And the first thing that we get to do is try to dispel and pull down fear. What's going to happen? Who's this outside person? What are they doing? What's this? So just 101, I'll try to develop rapport.
Mhm.
Tell me what's going on. Tell me the story from your lens. Tell me the story from your perspective. They'll say, well, you're just going to talk to everybody else. No, what we talk about is confidential. So I have to be willing and have the backing of leaders to keep that confidence. And then to synthesize what some of the questions or some of the findings are with the leader. So that's the first, so that's, I say, step one. It's not even phase one, it's just step one. We've got to level set. We've got to have some individual conversations about what's really happening. And to get a sense of, is it team dynamics? Is it one or two players that are feeling threatened? What's so addressing conflict, the first step is figure out what the conflict is really about.
Mhm.
And then we can formulate a plan. If I go to the doctor and I have a rash, on my hand, the doctor's going to take a look at the rash. I don't want the doctor to say, "Oh yeah, that's quite the rash," and walk out the door. Like, I want some help, right? Diagnosis is step one, but I actually want some treatment. So
Mhm.
how are we going to progress to that next stage? We have to build trust. We have to build rapport. And then we have to start looking at what's going to work. So if I walk into a church that's having some challenges with leadership or challenges with women in ministry, or I'm having challenges with, elder led versus congregational led, whatever those challenges look like in nonprofits, I've got everybody, with the best of intentions, but they struggle with each other and they start to, forget that the opportunities that we get to do are serving others, not fighting with each other, and that we all have great ideas. But sometimes we walk into organizations, I know you do, I know a lot of you guys all do. What do I do with that? Well, I'm going to accept the fact that conflict is a natural part of our experiences. So it's not unusual. It's not working. Because the minute we start to frame it that way, it's going to be a really tough uphill battle.
Mhm.
So first step, develop rapport. Second step around, especially around teams, is to be able to understand how did we get here and how are we seeing things? And that's where those kind of tools, those assessments, those things can help paint pictures for people to understand thinking of other people. So
Mhm.
I know it sounds like, I honestly, with organizations, it's not that I will never, but I honestly will always have some type of assessment that we're using. Could
Yeah.
be a spiritual strengths assessment. It could be lots of things. It's not just a personality assessment. What
Right.
what is our gifting? So I can call out the positive. Where's our differences that are naturally misaligned? And how do we understand, oh, you're not just being difficult with me. You see the world differently. I now understand it's not personal. It's just we see the things, we're seeing the same picture, but we're calling it out differently.
Yeah.
So how do we start to level set? And then
Mhm.
how do we start to appreciate those differences and start to see that through a different lens and say, oh my gosh, you're really good at that and I'm really good at this. If we could combine and try to collaborate, I've had some amazing examples of people with deep conflict, like, I really don't like this person, and they'll use other language, but we won't today.
Mhm.
And I don't trust them. I don't like them. I will never trust them. And I now find them after starting to see things through the other lens, borrowing the lenses, so to speak, and get to see things through other people's perspectives. Oh, okay. And it's not perfect. It's still going to be bumpy at times. And that's part of managing expectations too. This isn't going to be easy. Like, okay, we're done. You guys we're not all healed. It doesn't work like that. If we set that as an expectation, we're going to be disappointed.
It seems to me you meet a lot of people, especially in the helping professions like clergy, pastoring churches, nonprofits, therapists. I don't know about therapists, but I think in the helping professions, you come across people and in many ways because of how we've been taught and formed in our own traditions in church, that
Yeah.
conflict is not good, that we should avoid conflict at all costs, right? And so um um it's important to have healthy conflict in teams. Like teams need to learn how you manage conflict because conflict can be healthy in order to move towards our collective goals and priorities together. You want to talk about that just for a moment?
Love to. I'm glad that you mentioned that because conflict avoidance, because a lot of people are conflict avoidant. And again, through our church traditions, through other learnings and our experiences, we're taught no, there's keep it to yourself, right? We're taught to stuff it. And
Mhm.
the problem with stuff it is it doesn't go away. It actually, it's again, I'm using too many medical examples, but if I have a wound, right, and I just, it'll be fine. I just wash it out and it's fine. And it starts to turn more and more pink and more red, and it starts to get covered over and it starts to bubble up and now it hurts. Well, what am I going to have to do? I'm going to have to clean it out. I have to deal with it or it's going to cause a bigger problem. And that's what happens in all kinds of organizations. We see the festering of things. We see the things not being addressed. Well, and I don't have to go, running toward conflict as let's go look for conflict. I had a a coach that I heard once say, we have to mine for conflict. We have to look for conflict. Well, I don't want to create conflict, but I do want to acknowledge that we're going to have differences and therefore we're going to have conflict. And if I try to sidestep it and don't deal with it, it starts to build up. And then you see organizations go sideways. You see people that didn't feel comfortable speaking up and they go, oh yeah, we've known about that for years. How many news reports are we going to hear about people having failures, whatever kind of failures, leadership failures, moral failures, church leader failures? I think that it's because there isn't a safe place or a safe environment for us to be able to provide enough self-care for leaders to be able to take care of themselves and be taken care of, to be cared for. And I think that's one of the biggest things I always tell people, I mean, I have conflict in my church. I have conflict that in groups that I lead, not just coach and work with, but people that I'm responsible for. And you know what? Often will say, I'll have somebody come to me. I had somebody recently with a marriage problem, right? And they're saying, well, should we be stepping out of leadership? I said, well, let's talk about that. I think I'll use the big C church. The church hasn't done the best job always of embracing people's challenges and just kind of I talk about we shoot them at dawn, like, let's take them out and shoot them. I think that's the worst thing we can do, not just for the church, but for those people. And that's where we have taken sometimes such deviations from what God intended. That was not Jesus' model. Let's go love the people into places of health, not
Right.
ostracize them, but we have to get proactive about that. And you can tell I'm a little fired up because I'm a little passionate about that. The idea of being proactive to care for our leaders and them have self-care. So one of the things that I'm asking my team, right? I'm asking lead pastor. It's one of my coaching responsibilities. And I have the Seattle School Board. I have a couple other nonprofit boards. My job as the chair is to ask the leader, how are you? What is going on in your world? Where are the places that we need to be praying? Where are the places we need to unpack? How much time have you spent with your spouse, with your family? Asking those kind of questions to reinforce what we want for them to take care of so that they fill their tank. I don't know about you, but my car doesn't drive very well if the battery doesn't get charged or the gas tank gets empty.
Right.
Same for
Right.
people. And I don't think we are doing a great job as leaders and overseers and all the kind of roles we play in helping people not just acknowledge that, but actually proactively do it, because otherwise it's going to lead to some of the reactions that happen and things blow up and people say, oh, see, there it is. It's like
Right.
it's doing such a disservice to everyone involved.